90% of dog owners make the same feeding mistakes without even realizing it. A few bites from your plate, an extra biscuit or food you thought was safe may seem harmless, but veterinarians see the tragic results every single day. At the Animal Poison Control Center in the U.S., more than 200,000 dogs are treated each year for food-related emergencies, many triggered by everyday habits owners never question. These mistakes quietly damage the heart, strain the joints, and even steal years from a dog's life. In this video, we'll uncover 11 common feeding mistakes and show you simple, safe fixes you can start today. And don't miss number 7. Most people still believe it's healthy, but it's one of the riskiest things you can give an adult dog. So let's begin with the mistake almost everyone excuses: bones as food. The picture is burned into our minds. Cartoons, movies, even children's books always show a happy dog with a giant bone between its teeth. It feels natural, almost iconic, like peanut butter and jelly. But behind that picture is a hidden danger that veterinarians know all too well. A cooked chicken bone or a sharp rib doesn't stay whole, it shatters like glass. Those splinters don't just scratch. They pierce gums, slice the throat, and sometimes lodge deep inside the intestines. Imagine shards of glass moving through your dog's stomach. That's what these fragments become. Veterinary surgeons report seeing this every week. The American Veterinary Medical Association has warned repeatedly, bones are not food, they are foreign objects. One study published in the Journal of Small Animal Practice documented dozens of emergency cases of bone ingestion, leading to perforated intestines, hemorrhage, and even death. At the ASPCA's Animal Poison Control Center, fractured bones remain one of the most common causes of surgical emergencies. It's not just cooked bones either. Even raw marrow bones, those big, safe-looking ones, can wedge into the jaw like a cruel trap, or crack a molar in half, leaving a dog in screaming pain. And the saddest part, dogs don't understand why they hurt. To them, it was just a gift from the person they love most. A gesture of care becomes a ticket to the ER. What owners think of as tradition or treat is in truth Russian roulette. So if bones are out, what comes next? Many owners think they can make up for it by sharing leftovers, the little scraps that fall from the dinner table. But that kindness hides another danger just as real. Let's look at the second mistake: feeding table scraps. It feels harmless, even loving. You're eating dinner, your dog sits by your side with those wide, pleading eyes, and you slip a piece of sausage or bread under the table. In that moment, it feels like sharing your heart. But to your dog's body, it's like pouring sand into the gears of a clock's slow grinding damage that adds up every single day. Human food isn't built for dogs. What tastes warm and comforting to us, garlic, onion, spices, oil, and salt, turns toxic in their system. Studies from the Journal of Veterinary Internal Medicine show that even moderate amounts of garlic or onion can damage a dog's red blood cells, leading to anemia. The Association for Pet Obesity Prevention has long warned that leftover fatty foods accelerate pancreatitis, a painful inflammation of the pancreas that often lands dogs in the hospital. And then there's the salt. What's a sprinkle to you is an overload for a dog's kidneys, raising blood pressure and straining the heart. But the damage isn't just physical. Each scrap teaches a lesson: bark, beg, whine, and food will come. Soon your quiet dinner turns into a chorus of demands, and your dog forgets the difference between your plate and their bowl. Over time, this erodes balanced nutrition. Dogs fill up on scraps, ignore their proper food, and spiral into deficiencies and chronic illness. And the saddest irony: what started as a small act of love becomes the very habit that steals health away. If table scraps create this silent erosion, The next mistake fuels something you can actually see with your own eyes: extra weight, piling on ounce by ounce. Let's move to the third mistake. Too many treats. At first, it feels innocent, just one little biscuit to say good dog. Then another when they tilt their head just right, and another when they paw at your hand. Before long, those tiny tokens of love pile up like bricks in a wall, building a prison of extra weight around your dog's body. What looked like affection becomes the slow architecture of obesity. Dogs are quick learners. They know the look that melts you, the whine that cracks your resolve. Behaviorists at the American Veterinary Society of Animal Behavior explain that food rewards, when overused, shift from reinforcement to dependency. Dogs learn not just to obey, but to manipulate, and the calories add up fast. A single commercial dog biscuit can carry as many calories relative to size as a cheeseburger does for us. According to the Association for Pet Obesity Prevention, over 55% of dogs in the U.S. are overweight or obese, and treats are one of the biggest culprits. The health toll is brutal. Excess weight strains the joints like a backpack full of rocks that never comes off. It smothers the heart, squeezes the lungs, and raises the risk of diabetes. In studies published in the Journal of the American Veterinary Medical Association, overweight dogs were shown to live nearly 2 years less than their lean counterparts. 2 years of walks, cuddles, and quiet evenings lost to snacks that were never needed. And the cruel twist: dogs don't connect the dots. They only feel the ache in their hips, the heaviness in their chest, never knowing that it came from those moments when you just couldn't say no. If too many treats quietly steal years, the next mistake comes from the opposite side: measuring food without care, giving too much or too little at every meal. Let's turn to mistake number 4, wrong portion sizes. A food bowl looks deceptively simple: fill it high, and your dog will love you more, right? But that bowl can turn into a ticking scale, one that tips silently toward danger. Too much food is like packing sandbags on a bridge. Every joint, every tendon, every organ carries the weight until something gives way. Too little food is just as cruel, like pulling fuel from an engine until it sputters and breaks down. Most owners don't measure. They pour with the heart, not the cup. But research in the Journal of Veterinary Internal Medicine has shown that even small errors in portion size repeated daily create significant risks of obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. On the other side, underfeeding leads to malnutrition, weak immunity, and stunted growth in puppies. The World Small Animal Veterinary Association, WSAVA, emphasizes that portion size must always consider a dog's age, weight, and activity level. Yet surveys reveal that most owners feed by eye, mistaking begging for hunger or mistaking a full belly for health. The impact is sobering. Studies from Purina's long-term canine health project found that dogs fed 25% fewer calories lived an average of 1.8 years longer than their overfed littermates. Imagine losing nearly 2 years of companionship because of a few extra scoops. Overfeeding isn't generosity, it's theft from your dog's future. But the other extreme, underfeeding, strips vitality just as fast. A coat turns dull, bones grow fragile, and energy fades. The dog that once ran to greet you now lingers tired by the door. If portion size is the silent miscalculation, the next mistake is more obvious: baked right into daily routine feeding only once a day. Let's move to mistake number 5, feeding only once a day. To many owners, it feels efficient: one big bowl once a day and the dog is set. But inside that single meal is a storm. The stomach swells like an overinflated balloon stretched to its limit, then spends hours churning, while the rest of the day the body runs on fumes. Imagine forcing yourself to sprint a marathon after just one massive buffet, bloated at the start, starving by the finish. That's the cycle a dog's body endures with one-a-day feeding. Veterinary nutritionists have warned about this pattern for decades. A study in the Journal of the American Animal Hospital Association found that large single meals increase the risk of gastric dilatation volvulus GDV, a deadly condition where the stomach twists on itself. Dogs who eat once a day are also more prone to hypoglycemia, especially active breeds and puppies, because their energy reserves crash before the next meal arrives. The American Kennel Club notes that smaller, more frequent meals keep metabolism stable and reduce stress on the pancreas and liver. The damage isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it shows up as fatigue, restless pacing, or the slow erosion of muscle mass. But the science is clear. Spreading meals 2 for adults, 3 or more for puppies and seniors, keeps digestion smooth, energy steady, and organs safe. And perhaps the cruelest irony is this: owners who feed once a day often believe they are being disciplined, even healthy. In truth, they are unknowingly building chaos into the rhythm of their dog's body. If a single giant meal strains the stomach, the next mistake attacks from a different angle: sweetness. The sugar in cakes, cookies, and pastries may tempt those pleading eyes, but it hides toxins that erode from within. Let's move to mistake number 6, giving sweets and pastries. A cupcake here, a cookie there, it feels like nothing, just a sweet gesture to match those begging eyes. But for a dog, sugar is no gift. It's more like pouring syrup into a machine built to run on clean fuel. The gears clog, the engine sputters, and slowly the system breaks down. Unlike humans, dogs aren't wired to process refined sugar. Their bodies treat it like an invader. Veterinary studies make the risks painfully clear. The Journal of Veterinary Dentistry has shown that sugary foods accelerate tooth decay and gum disease in dogs, leading to infections that can spread to the bloodstream. The Merck Veterinary Manual warns that repeated exposure to sugar and baked goods increases the risk of obesity, diabetes, and chronic pancreatitis. And then there are the hidden toxins: raisins, chocolate macadamia nuts, all common in pastries, all potentially lethal even in small amounts. The ASPCA Animal Poison Control Center reports thousands of emergency calls each year tied to dogs who ate just a bite of dessert. The tragedy is that dogs love the taste. Their tongues light up with sweetness, but their organs pay the price. Obesity creeps in like a shadow that never leaves. The pancreas burns out the heart struggles, and life shortens not from one cookie, but from a pattern of indulgence repeated over months and years. And yet owners still fall for that gaze, mistaking desire for need. Love in this form becomes a slow poison wrapped in frosting. If sugar corrodes from within, the next mistake comes not from indulgence, but from ignorance, forgetting that every dog's body has its own rhythm, its own calorie needs. Let's move on to mistake number 7, ignoring weight and activity. Picture 2 dogs side by side, a husky that runs 5 miles with its owner every morning, and a small lapdog that naps most of the day. Giving them the same portion of food is like fueling a race car and a parked scooter with the exact same tank. It makes no sense, yet many owners do it without a second thought. The result is predictable. One dog balloons under the weight of unburned calories, while the other fades undernourished and tired. Veterinary science backs this up. The World Small Animal Veterinary Association, WSAVA guidelines stress that caloric intake must be tailored to activity, age, and body condition. A study published in the Journal of Nutritional Science found that sedentary dogs need as much as 30% fewer calories than their active counterparts. Conversely, working breeds or puppies that don't get enough energy quickly show signs of hypoglycemia, muscle loss, and weakened immunity. The Association for Pet Obesity Prevention warns that dogs who live mostly indoors are at the highest risk of obesity-related illnesses, arthritis, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. The signs are often subtle at first: a heavier step on the stairs, a slower rise from the floor, a coat that loses its shine. Owners may mistake it for aging, when in fact, it's a nutritional mismatch. Over time, the dog's body becomes like a scale, tilted off balance each day, a little further from health. And here's the heartbreaking part: dogs don't control their menu, you do. Ignoring weight and activity isn't just oversight, it's handing them either too much burden or too little fuel. If misjudging energy needs slowly shifts a dog's body out of balance, the next mistake hits harder, faster, and with immediate digestive pain. Let's move on to mistake number 8, milk for adult dogs. To us, milk is the symbol of comfort, the first food of life, the liquid of nurture. Many owners carry that image over to their dogs, pouring a bowl of milk as if it were a gift of health. But for adult dogs, milk is not comfort, it's chaos. Imagine giving a body a key to unlock nutrition, only to find that the key no longer fits the lock. That's what happens when lactase, the enzyme that digests milk sugar, fades away after puppyhood. The sugar remains trapped, fermenting and boiling in the gut like a storm in a closed bottle. Science is clear on this. Research published in the Journal of the American Veterinary Medical Association confirms that most adult dogs produce little to no lactase, making them lactose intolerant. Even small amounts of milk can trigger bloating, diarrhea, and painful cramping. The ASPCA notes that repeated exposure to milk doesn't build tolerance, it erodes the digestive tract, weakens immunity, and increases the risk of chronic inflammation. Some breeds are especially sensitive, reacting violently to even a few sips. The tragedy is subtle. Owners see the tail wag when the bowl is filled and mistake that joy for health. But within hours, the dog is curled up restless, its gut in turmoil. What was meant as kindness turns into discomfort over and over again. And yet milk is still passed off as natural. But natural doesn't always mean safe. For adult dogs, milk is not nourishment. It's a burden their bodies cannot carry. If milk silently undermines digestion, the next mistake is even more deceptive, something celebrated in movies and culture, but far more dangerous than it looks. Let's turn to mistake number 9, bones as food. It's easy to fall into the trap. You scroll through forums, listen to a neighbor, or trust your own instincts because your dog looks fine. But ignoring a veterinarian's guidance is like sailing without a compass. Everything feels steady until suddenly you're lost in a storm. Vets aren't just guessing. They're reading the silent messages your dog's body sends, the ones you can't see until it's too late. Research underscores the danger. A survey published in the Journal of Small Animal Practice found that nearly 40% of owners admitted to not following nutritional advice from their vets, often substituting internet trends or personal beliefs. The consequences were real increased rates of obesity, kidney disease, and digestive disorders in dogs whose diet strayed from professional recommendations. The American Veterinary Medical Association emphasizes that feeding plans should always account for age, breed, health history, and existing conditions factors no one-size-fits-all blog post can capture. The harm doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers: a dog that tires faster on walks, a dull coat that once gleamed, or a subtle weight gain ignored until joints ache. Each skipped instruction is a seed of risk planted in silence, growing into a forest of preventable illness. And once that forest burns, it's far harder to rebuild than it would have been to follow the path from the start. Listening to your vet isn't about control, it's about partnership. They see the medical side of love translating affection into science that sustains life. If ignoring expert voices plants the seeds of illness, the next mistake feeds the fire with the wrong fuel entirely. Meals designed for children, not dogs. Let's move to mistake number 10, feeding kids food. It seems harmless at first glance. If baby food pasta or a hamburger is good for a child, surely it can't be bad for a dog, right? But a dog's body is not a child's body. Feeding kids food to a dog is like trying to run a diesel engine on gasoline. It sputters, chokes, and breaks down. What nourishes human growth often starves canine health. Pediatric meals are built for developing human organs, not canine ones. They tend to be heavy in carbohydrates, low in protein, and seasoned with salt, sugar, or dairy that dogs can't process. A study published in the Journal of Animal Physiology and Animal Nutrition highlights how high-carb diets alter canine metabolism, leading to fat storage, insulin resistance, and a greater risk of diabetes. The Merck Veterinary Manual warns that excess sodium and artificial additives common in processed children's foods strain the kidneys and liver, setting the stage for long-term disease. Even innocent-looking mashed potatoes or baby cereal can create nutritional gaps, depriving dogs of the amino acids and fatty acids they require to thrive. And then there's the behavior. Sharing a child's meal blurs the boundaries at the table. Dogs begin to beg, hover, and snatch food, eroding mealtime peace and putting both child and pet at risk. The act feels like inclusion, but it teaches confusion and dependency instead. Every time a dog eats like a child, their body pays the price in silence. The tail may wag, but the organs work overtime, carrying a load never meant for them. If kids' food disguises malnutrition in a friendly wrapper, the next mistake is less obvious but just as dangerous, ignoring the simple hygiene of clean bowls. Let's move to mistake number 11, dirty food bowls. A shiny stainless steel bowl looks innocent on the floor, waiting for the next meal. But when it's left unwashed, that harmless dish transforms into a swamp of bacteria. Imagine eating your dinner off a plate that's been sitting in a damp corner for days, coated with grease crumbs and invisible mold. That's the reality for countless dogs who return meal after meal to bowls that never see soap and water. Science paints a disturbing picture. A study from Biofilm Journal found that dog bowls rank among the dirtiest household items, often teeming with Salmonella E. coli and yeast colonies after just 48 hours without cleaning. Researchers at Hartpura University in the UK discovered that bowls holding moist or raw food grow bacterial loads high enough to endanger not just dogs, but the humans living with them. The American Kennel Club also warns that leftover kibble residue forms a fatty film that acts as fertilizer for germs, creating an invisible coating of disease. The consequences are subtle. At first, mild stomach upset, a day of diarrhea. But over time, repeated exposure chips away at a dog's immune system, opening the door to chronic gut inflammation, skin flare-ups, and even recurring ear infections. It's a slow drip of poison disguised as a normal routine. And yet, this mistake is the easiest to fix. Soap, hot water, a few minutes of care, that's all it takes to transform a danger zone back into a place of nourishment. Clean bowls don't just protect health. They honor the bond, saying, "I care enough to guard even the smallest detail of your life." If bone scraps treats portions, sweets milk or dirty bowls have shown us anything, it's this love alone isn't enough. It must be guided by knowledge, sharpened by science, and practiced through small daily choices. And when you get those choices right, you don't just feed your dog, you give them more years by your side. At the end of the day, our dogs don't care about fancy meals, expensive toys, or long lists of rules. What they crave is simple love, safety, and a healthy life by our side. But love alone isn't enough. It has to be guided by knowledge. The truth is, many of the things we thought were harmless bones, table scraps, sweets, even milk, carry silent dangers that can steal months or years from our best friends. Every small choice you make at mealtime is a message to your dog. I want you here, strong and happy, for as long as possible. By avoiding these 11 mistakes and choosing safe, balanced nutrition, you're not just feeding a pet, you're protecting a family member, giving them the gift of more tail wags, more long walks, and more quiet nights curled at your feet. If this video opened your eyes, let it also open your heart to action. Look at your dog tonight, watch the trust in their eyes, and promise them you'll do better starting now. And if you want to keep learning how to give your dog the longest, happiest life possible, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Join our community of dog lovers who believe that every bark, every cuddle, and every heartbeat matters. Because when you understand your dog, you don't just add years to their life, you add life to their years.